of macro, small and medium scale enterprise in Nigeria.
Can you give a summary of your thesis?
Yes. In macro, small and medium scale enterprise in Nigeria for the past 5 years has been having some challenges, and these challenges have to cut across economic issues, environmental issues, technological issues, economic issues, and government policies, and all that has been seriously impacting on the small scale businesses in Nigeria. But I have been able to look at it from a different perspective, that in spite of these challenges that these small businesses are having, we still have some of them that are doing well. So I was curious to go into this study to find out what is actually the major challenges that SME have in Nigeria, and what are the root causes of these challenges, and what can be done to make sure that these causes are be able to address it. And one thing that struck my mind is that wherever you have challenges, as we have globally, but if the organization have a good strategic management, that problem can be overcome. That was why I have to look at it critically, that even if when you have money, you have the necessary resources, but if you lack the managerial skill, you will not be able to manage the business. And I am also operating in the medium scale enterprise in Nigeria, which I have been able to see that I'm doing well. But there are some that have folded off and some are just struggling to survive. But the big picture is, why are some still surviving and some are not surviving? So from this study that I have conducted, which in line with other study conducted by Pricewaterhouse and even FINAM, also pinpoint that major issues that macro and a small business have in Nigeria center more on the economic factors, because you really need money to do business in this part of the world, because most of the infrastructural facility that needed, such as electricity and all that, are not being provided. Most times, as we speak right now, I'm burning on diesel since morning, and that happens day in, day out. You barely have light. That is a major issue that small scale businesses faced in Nigeria. Issue of getting access to fund is a major issue. Many businesses in Nigeria have this issue of not able to raise funds, because even the commercial bank and the other small scale bank that are supposed to give loan, that's microfinance bank that are supposed to give loan to SME, they are not helping matters. Why? Because of the collateral they always ask from this SME. I know small scale businesses may not necessarily have all the requirement to obtain loan. That has been a problem of SME in Nigeria having access to fund. Although government always say that they want to come up with some strategy to pump money into the sector, but over time we discover that this money also go into the hand of the big companies, because they believe that is the big company and the big politicians that will be able to borrow at a high interest rate, because that is another issues they are facing. High interest rates is a major issue why people cannot obtain loan. Small scale business cannot obtain loan in Nigeria. You want to take a loan and they're asking you that you will pay over 25%, and what they are going to give to macro and small scale enterprise, they always give a small amount of money, and by the time they start to remove their interest, you discover that they have nothing to do business with. That has been actually discouraging. We also found out that in terms of technology, SME do not have the financial capability to acquire most of this technology to drive their business. And globally, businesses are technologically driven all over the world, and Nigeria cannot be an exception. And this has been a serious issue because what people now do, they decide to fall back on the old way of doing business. They fall back on the old way of doing business without actually innovating around their strategies. Because the surviving in this type of turbulence business environment, one need to innovate around the strategy. The strategy have to change. It shouldn't be this is how it was done years back, that it must be the same pattern that that you are going to use, fully knowing that things have changed. And in business environments, as this event are unfolding, then a strategy need to be modified and adapted to suit the these prevailing circumstances. So another issue we also found out have to do with the environmental factors and unfavorable government policies. Government policy in the sense you have double taxation. One small scale business that is struggling to survive, you see federal government will impose tax on them, you see state government will impose tax on them, you see local government will impose tax on them. By the time they pay tax around this level of government, the small scale the business have nothing to left home with. So it has been discouraging many operators in these industries. And government presently, although they are trying to do something, but what they are doing, which the government just come up with now, perhaps to partner with a big company like Echo Bank of recent that promised to give a loan to SME, and the government is also trying to set up a training program partnering with some NGO and some private company so that they can actually train these small scale businesses on how to go about their business. But one fundamental things that I found out is that many small scale businesses in Nigeria lack managerial skill. They don't have this idea of a strategic management skill, and that has been the problem they have. Because if you have it, you should be able to scan the business environment, because the environment in which we operate, even when you say that environment is bad, you also have some good things in the environment. As a businessman, as a chief strategist, as a forward-looking entrepreneur that have to proactively address the issue that come from the environment, should be able to carry out SWOT analysis. And when they carry out SWOT analysis, you should be able to identify the issues in the environment. You should be able to identify the opportunity and the threat. Then you should be able to look inward to say, okay, what is my strength? What do I have to take advantage of the opportunity that we have in the external environment? And in the issue of weaknesses that the organization may have, it can be issue of capital. But if they have a good strategist or strategic management, it's very easy to do. Because if this company that we are talking about, all these financial institutions, if you write a good business proposal to approach them for loan, they will see the viability of the business. They will see the feasibility of the business. And that will encourage them to give you a loan that you need. But most of these SME, they don't have this strategic management skill to carry out a SWOT analysis to actually know that even when things are seem to be impossible, but there is possibility in every impossibility. And that can only be achieved when you have this knowledge of a strategic management. I can give you a case study. Last year, the whole world was on lockdown, particularly in Nigeria. We have a double issue of a lockdown, and that also have to couple with as we are coming out from it, we have issue of NSAS protest that again further aggravated the issues that we have in the business environment in Nigeria. But when that issue of lockdown came, many industry in our sector, all of them went home and they were not doing anything. They were just waiting for things to return back to this normalcy so that they can go back to the old way of doing business. But I sat down with my management team. We had a round of strategic meeting, brainstorming and all other things, looking at what do we have in-house that we can use to take advantage. Because we know, because I am a researcher, and I run a market research agencies. And I know that I have some big clients all over the world that also want to even do study to find out the impact this coronavirus have on the masses. Even some program that they may also run, they want to evaluate it. And before they can fund anything, surely they want to know what and what the people want. And if they invest anything, then after a month or two, they want to carry out the impact assessment. Because of the lockdown, this issue actually deprived them from a commissioning job. But I now look at what we have in house. We carry out SWOT analysis and we discover that there is a huge market there for us to tap into, which I know at that point in time, many research agencies in Nigeria, they were completely blank out because they were waiting for the conventional way of doing face-to-face. We look at it, one of the strengths that we have in house was a big data, because we have over 26,000 contacts of respondents that spread across all the country. Then we quickly have to, because we have the network of interviewers in all the states, we quickly have to do a validation about 30% of the data that we have. And we come up with a marketing strategy and a sales letter, which we send out to all our clients all over the world, that in spite of this pandemic, that we can still conduct this research even in the remote part of the country. And we move forward to say, because of the huge data that we have that are well segmented, we can still capture both the urban and the rural, and the demographic breaks. We can still do all that. And because of we have the phone number and we have interviewer in all the state, it's a question of programming it into our devices and send the link to our interviewer, just like you send me a link, and they have the phone number of the people that they need to talk to. They will be able to do a lot of businesses. And before you know it, many companies back into the idea, and they were giving us job. While other people were complaining, we don't even have job. We just see that many NGO, many government establishment, even US Department of State, and the rest of them, who were giving us job, because we were the first person to have that foresight to say, yes, even when you say COVID-19, then we can still look at it. There is something that exists there, because the world want to know how this COVID-19 has negatively impacted on the individual, on the society, and the global world. And that can only be done when you carry out research. We didn't allow that issue of lockdown to limit us. That was one of the strategies that we actually used, and many clients, they bought the idea. As a matter of fact, we have about 3-4 clients that were not doing business for before, because we were able to market this. They came back and they commissioned us job. So that is one of the what I'm talking about. Because some of them, because they lack this strategic management skill, they were not able to analyze the market. They were not able to analyze the industry. They were only thinking that, okay, it's money, money, money. Even if when you have money as an entrepreneur in this sector, then the money itself cannot use itself. Because every businesses have management. Because somebody have to conceive the idea of doing the business. Somebody have to conceive the idea of coming up with the objective. And somebody have to come up with the idea of saying, okay, we want to turn the objective into mission and vision of the organization. You have to talk about how to allocate resources to take advantage of opportunity that we have in the external this business environment. And until SME in Nigeria begin to realize this, that it's not just issue of money or government policy or environmental policies issues, that we can still go far in doing business and survive in turbulent business environment when all embrace the culture or strategic management in their business their philosophy. I think that is a short summary that I can give about my thesis.
Dr. Fregis, do you have questions?
For sure. Very interesting summary, Mr. Thursday. First of all, I have a couple of questions for you. So first of all, I would like to know how come Nigeria, who is the 11th largest oil producer in the whole world, does not have a stable light power. Because we know that industry
I can hear you.
Develop need
stable electricity.
Let's start by that.
Yes,
question. Exactly.
So let me just quickly answer that. The short answer is political. Everything in Nigeria is being politicized. There are some big politicians that doesn't want things to work. For example, we were on national grid being owned by the federal government in the past. 3 years ago, they said they want to deregulate, which was done. Do you know what happened? It was the big politicians, the ex-president and the top politicians that share this equity, and they bump up some state to their own. What do they need? What do they do now? Is to hack the price. Where somebody is paying $1 before per month for this electricity, you end up paying almost $100 in this electricity. And in terms of even getting it, we don't even have it. And one shocking thing is that even the neighboring country like Ghana and the Benin Republic that will supply this national grid, they have more stable light than Nigeria. The issue we have in Nigeria is politics. Everything is being politicized. That is why things are not going the way it's supposed to go. Normally, we don't supposed to have issue of electricity, but we have, because we have a Kanji dam that which we can use to generate this national grid. But instead, they will not have it and sell it to other countries at the expense of the citizens.
That's why you're talking in your thesis of governmental policies who are not really in the favor of the Nigerians and the businesses in Nigeria. Yeah, my second question would be to know, as you mapped all those problems from your own perspective and your own small way, how would you, which mechanism would you use in order to promote or in order to overcome those difficulties?
Okay, perfect. Good questions. This question is a national issue and which need a collaborative effort to resolve. We need the effort of the government, the private sector, and the individual to come together to resolve this. It's not something that we just left in the hand of government alone. Government, on the part of government, they have to come up with a favorable policies, business policy that favor SME. For example, having a one-digit taxation. For example, now we have double-digit taxation. They can come up and introduce the issue of one-digit taxation. In that case, the SME will have some money that they can plow back into their business. But in a short run, that one will also enable them to overcome some economic challenges that they are facing. Another issue that the government have to do is the provision of infrastructure in the area of this electricity that you talk about. The area of good road is another issue. Most of the roads are not accessible. For example, like the industry where I play, we do research all over the country, both rural and urban. You discover that sometimes, even when you have a project in the rural area, you can only go there on their market day, because in Nigeria, rural areas, it's only a market day which come up might be one in every 5 days that you can have access of a mobility that will take you there and bring you out, because you don't have a good road. And this also affects the local artisan, even agriculture, and the local producer to bring this product into the urban. What do you experience most of the time? You now have a lot of wastages, because some of the products that are produced in the farm are perishable. There are no things in place that will enable them to preserve this raw material that can be exported or that can be used as a byproduct. And instead of them to even transport it to the urban, it's a problem. So if government can actually come hand in to make sure that most of these roads are motorable, it will have it will help a great way. Another area where the government still have to do something have to be in the area of low lending rate, interest rate. They can mandate the bank that they have to reduce their interest rate. They are there, for example, now they are saying they're pumping billions of naira to assist the SME in terms of loan. But the interest rate is not helping matter. For example, now if you ask me as an SME operator, I will not take such loan because at the end of the day, I'm going to end up in debt. So the government have to work on that to make sure that the interest rate on loan is low. If there is low interest rate, then we are good to go. Another thing is that the collateral that they normally ask from SME, some of them are not necessary. Somebody will be asking you for things that they know you do not have. You are an SME and you want to borrow small money. Somebody will be asking you, you have to come and deposit a landed property document. If you have landed property document, you could have as well offer it for sale to raise money for your business. But they know that most SME, because they are struggling, they don't have this landed property, they always put it there. I think the problem we have in that area is that the financial institutions are only looking at the gain. They are only looking at the gain, what they will gain. It's not how they will help the SME. Yeah. So in the area of the private sector themselves, they still have to come together. For example, the big corporation like MTN of this world, then Nigeria breweries, Guinness, and all those large-scale enterprises can also come in handy by helping the small-scale industry, because whether they like it or not, they also need the small-scale industry to survive. They need raw material. Without the small-scale industry that will come up with some of the locally made raw material, they are also out of business. Until they begin to fund small SME in some sector, then things will not work well. But if they look at it from that perspective, that they also need SME to survive in terms of a provision of raw material, then we are good to go. Then they can also come together to organize a training. Though of recent now, I think a company is planning to partner with the federal government to run a skill empowerment program for SME operators in Nigeria, which is a very good one. So they can also do that by coming up with training to train SME operators on how to manage their business, particularly in the area of strategic management. That will help. Coming back to the individual operators, they have to be prudent in the use of resources. Because if you are looking at the global economy, there is no economy that is totally stable. And there is no economy that you say that you have all things sufficient. But your ability to judiciously use the available resources to take advantage of the opportunity in the external environment make the difference. And that is where they have to work on to make sure that the material they have to judiciously use it to avoid the wastages. And one other thing that SME are suffering in Nigeria, they divert most of this little money they have into personal use, into ceremony, birthday party, burial ceremony, and all kind of things. They wouldn't even mind to go and borrow at a high interest rate to fund the birthday party and all that. And all this negatively affect the growth of their businesses. Until they're able to realize this, then things will not go well. So it's on the part of the SME operator, they should be able to separate their income from the company. If you are doing business and you tie your income around you, you don't separate your business from yourself, automatically that business will not grow. You should be able to do that. If all of them, they are doing that, like I do in my company, because I'm into research, I also have a bottle water factory. As a matter of fact, I manage 2 companies in Nigeria. I have a packaged water factory. Then I also have a market research consultancy outfit. So what I do is to make sure that I separate myself from my business. How? I place myself on monthly salary in line with available resources. So I don't say the money that come is my money. I don't put pressure on my businesses. At the end of the month, I take my salary and I try to make sure that I live within my salary, so that any money that come into the business, we're able to apply it back into the business. In that case, we're able to solve the economic problem that we have. And because we have some resources within the company that we can pull here and there, we are also able to invest into technology. That also help us to invest on technology and to make sure that issue of this technology is taken care of. Then what they also need to do, which is really lacking, is manpower development. They have to develop manpower. You cannot run a business where you don't have a skilled manpower. You just believe that you are the only person that is there. Whatever thing you say must hold. You need skilled manpower. Until they realize it, they won't be able to grow the way it's supposed to be. No one person have this knowledge. You must hire people of different skill. You must have people from different functional area. Make sure that you have experts that occasionally they meet, brainstorm, and decide the direction which the organization will go. If they are able to do this, and I can bet you the rest will be history.
I totally agree with everything that you are saying, and it's a well-found research that you just did right here, and all the mechanism that you just explained. I totally agree with you, Dr. Edward.
I just want clarification. One sentence in your thesis. You've done an excellent job talking about your thesis, summarizing your thesis, explaining it. The very last sentence before the conclusion says, statistics have shown that most enterprises fail because of bad management. Do you stand by that? Do you agree with that? Or was
yes.
Was it interest rates? Was it the environment? Was it government policy? Or was it just bad management?
Yes. Yes, it is true that most of the SME fail because they lack strategic management. Because like I said from the beginning, if you have the knowledge of strategy, then all other problems that you have, you can be able to manage, you can put them under control because you're able to come up with policies, you're able to come up with strategy to address the issues. But if you lack a strategic management, even if when you have the money, you have the government support, you have everything, then everything will still go down the drain. But the major thing that most SME in Nigeria lack is strategic management. And I can bet you many of them don't even bother about training themselves. They don't bother about researching on the latest this technological know-how they can use to grow their businesses. They don't bother to scan the environment, but their ultimate goal and the focus is just to maximize the profit. And how will you maximize the profit when you are operating in a turbulent business environment? So what is really lacking from observation, from past study, and from this study that I have done is strategic management.
That's clear to me. I don't have any more questions on this. I think every question I had was answered. And I'm reading some of the thesis here as you're talking, and you're covering all of the points.
Thank you.
I think, excellent. And the research, the numbers and the statistical analysis are solid. So the recommendations for future research, you've covered everything. Your bibliography is extensive, sufficient. So I'm looking at this and saying, I don't have any more questions or concerns about the thesis. Dr. Freitas, do you have anything to say?
All question was very well answered. So excellent. I don't have any more questions.
Thank you.
And I think the analysis is correct. From what you're telling me, the analysis is correct on how these different factors are relating, and it's true. I mean, if you can prove that good management can solve these problems, that is a huge discovery. Because then the problems that people complain about, you can handle them. Interest rates, government policy, and a whole range of things. But like you say, management, skilled manpower, strategically planning for what could happen and having the cash available for certain things that you can't foresee. Everything that you're saying, good management can solve these problems. And I think that is the best conclusion that you can make.
Yes, you are right. Thanks.
And so it's training, it's management, it's getting people educated and trained on what they need to do, and then getting your plan together and knowing the worst that can happen and getting ready for it. And if it doesn't happen, you're even better off. So, a lot of people think it's impossible. It's impossible to have a business. It's going to fail.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
what you're saying is no. If you know how to manage a business, you can do it.
You are right.
And I think that message is very valuable.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Dr. Frages, any thoughts?